तस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिके। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं स्वयं तं साधुवैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्तांश्च नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमाकलावते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने पार्थशूलमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्त तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राघवेन्द्राभणेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So we're reading from Prabhupada book, the second last chapter, Uniting the Two Worlds. Remember the page number where we stopped last time? Page 384. All right, I'll continue reading. And also, I wanted to thank you all for continuously participating in these sessions. When we started this course, maybe around 150 or 200 devotees, they registered. That, okay, we'll read about Prabhupada. But then maybe only 20, 25 are able to continue. So that's how most of the time I've experienced. People do make a resolve, but their determination is not always strong to continue that resolve. They fall back, right? And that's why they're not able to pers- persevere in Krishna consciousness. But thank you that you were able to continue and reading Prabhupada book. That's nice. We should know about Prabhupada. Um, Prabhupada's making Bhagavatam's message available, therefore, did not mean mere simplification. It meant urgently addressing the reader to give up the world of illusion and take to the eternal liberation of Krishna consciousness. Modern society, however, was so degraded that a preacher could no longer appeal to the authority of Vedic scripture. No one would accept it. Srila Prabhupada's writings therefore dealt with such theories as the origin of life by chance, Darwinian evolution, and chemical evolution. And he defeated them all with strong logic, establishing that life comes from life, not from dead matter. Prabhupada's writings also combated the false teachings of bogus yogis, gurus, and incarnations, who had appeared like a tidal wave of falsity in Kali Yuga, both in India and in the West. His writings criticized modern political institutions also, Um, Analyzing why monarchies fell, why democracy was also failing, and how dictatorship would increasingly harass the citizens. The government's policies of abusive taxation and the propaganda to bring people to the cities to work in the factories, abandoning simple agrarian life, were all discussed in the light of the scriptures. In his travels, Srila Prabhupada had observed the rampant degradation of human society, sexual liberation, the latest fads and intoxication, and the vicious crimes of animal slaughter and meat eating. A Bhagavad Gita purport dealt specifically with the threat of nuclear holocaust. Such people are considered the enemies of the world because ultimately they will invent or create something which will bring destruction to all. Indirectly, this verse anticipates the invention of nuclear weapons, of which the world is today very proud. At any moment, war may take place, and these atomic weapons may create havoc. Such things are created solely for the destruction of the world, and this is indicated here. Due to godlessness, such weapons are invented in human society. They are not meant for the peace and prosperity of the world. Prabhupada's criticisms were strong and authoritative, befitting a true acharya. His uncompromising spirit was appealing. He was not a timid scholar, pointing out some obscure historical references. Yet, underlying his writing, a humble tone of request spoke to the heart. As the servant of Krishna, he asked everyone to please take up Krishna consciousness and be restored to his original constitutional position of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. As Prabhupada had originally left his writing at the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan to preach in the West, so he could leave his writing retreat in Hawaii for preaching. In any case, he was prepared to continue writing wherever he went. All alone, he had planned to stay in Hawaii only for a month, not permanently. His disciples needed to see him for strength and inspiration, and as long as he had life and breath, this was his purpose. Prabhupada wanted to first visit his Los Angeles center, now a large, thriving community of devotees. He would see the new temple room with its marble arches and gallery of gorgeous transcendental paintings, and observe the opulent worship of the deities Rukmini Dwarkadish. He would see the latest technological applications of Krishna consciousness at Golden Avatar recording studios, and at the Fate Museum, which utilized multimedia dioramas to depict the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. He would sit in his garden and hear Krishna book and walk on Venice Beach discussing scientific theories with Dr. Swarup Damodar. And of course, he would increase the already swelling waves of book distribution. Uh, One day in the car, he had said, "My books will be the law books of human society for the next 10,000 years." New York City, July 9, 1976. Jayanand was driving the car. Tamal Krishna Goswami and Rameshwar Swami were also there. They had picked up Srila Prabhupada and Hari Shauri at La Guardia Airport, and as they proceeded toward Manhattan, Prabhupada asked, "Things are going on here nicely." Tamal Krishna replied that everything had really just begun. The devotees were still moving into their 12-story building in Manhattan and were making the final arrangements for Ratha-yatra. You will see that all of the work is just in progress, he said. Yes, said Srila Prabhupada. Manage nicely. Krishna is giving us everything. There is no scarcity. If we simply, sincerely work, Krishna will give us intelligence, everything. By His mercy, everything is available. That is Krishna. He can give you anything. As their car approached the colossal Brooklyn Bridge, Srila Prabhupada inquired, "That is Brooklyn Bridge, I think. Sometimes I was coming here and sitting down near the bridge." "Near the water?" asked Tamal Krishna. They were fascinated to hear of Srila Prabhupada's early activities alone in New York. "You were sitting near the water?" "Yes, that river," said Prabhupada. "Because I was on that Bowery Street, it's not very far away. So I was coming, walking there, sitting under that bridge and thinking when I shall return to India." He laughed. He asked about other places, almost like inquiring about old friends, the Fulton Street subway station and Chambers Street. Tamal Krishna told Prabhupada that the iskcon center was not far from the Empire State Building and that he would be able to get a nice view of it from his room on the 11th floor. "Our building," said Tamal Krishna, "is right in the midst of the theater, restaurant, and entertainment section of the society." In New York, said Prabhupada, "I feel a little at home because first I came here. I was loitering on the street here and there from 1965 September to July 67. Continually, I stayed in New York." Tamal Krishna Maharaj gave a class this morning, said Rameshwar Swami, who is explaining that we cannot understand the good fortune of this city, that you have come here. "Yes, when I decided that I shall go to a foreign country," said Prabhupada, "I never thought of going to London. I thought of coming here. Generally, they go to London, but I thought, no, I should go to New York. Very progressive. Ramakrishna comment. I did not know Prabhupada laughed. It is Krishna's dictation. I could have gone. London was nearer, but I thought, no, I shall go to New York. Sometimes I was even dreaming that I had gone to New York. Yes,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
As they passed through various neighborhoods, Srila Prabhupada recalled the old days. He mentioned Dr. Mishra's yoga studio and his room at 172nd Street, where his tape recorder and typewriter had been stolen. The West End Superette, where he would buy fruit. Sometimes I think I was coming to this park, said Prabhupada, looking out the window aimlessly. Yes, sometimes walking Second Avenue. As they drove down 55th Street, the devotees pointed out to Prabhupada the iskcon building with the words Hare Krishna written in gold letters down the side. A large yellow banner showing a devotee of Lord Chaitanya performing Sankirtan flew from the front of the building, and a stylish awning emblazoned Hare Krishna Center. Prabhuji, can you please scroll? Emblazoned Hare Krishna Center extended onto the sidewalk. At the sight of Prabhupada's car, hundreds of devotees at the entrance began to cheer and chant his name. It was the largest gathering of ISKCON devotees since the Mayapur festival. Many had come from distant places to be with Srila Prabhupada, and more than 600 devotees were staying in the building. The kirtan was tumultuous. Standing before the deities of Radha Govind, Prabhupada appeared pleased. A picture of Lord Jagannath, Balaram, and Subhadra was on the third altar. And Prabhupada said he was anxious to see them on Ratha-yatra day. As Prabhupada sat on the large green Vyasasan, he was at first too moved with emotion to speak. First of all, I must thank you all for bringing me in the new temple, he began. Because when I first came, my ambition was to start a temple here in New York, and I was seeking the opportunity. He described some of his first almost helpless attempts to buy a 25 by 100-foot space in Manhattan, but he had been unable to get any money. I had no place, he said, what to speak of a temple. I had no residential place even. So, in that condition, I was thinking of returning to India. Practically every week, I was going to the shipping company. So, it is a long history that I came here with determination to start a I came here with determination to start a temple in New York first. But at that time, 10 years before, in 1965, it was not possible. But by the grace of Krishna and by the grace of my Guru Maharaj, you have got this place. So I must thank you very much for organizing this temple. During Prabhupada's 10 days stay in New York, the devotees remained in a triumphant, euphoric mood. For the Ratha-yatra, the devotees had permission from the city to have the parade down Fifth Avenue. Prabhupada had said that New York was the most important city in the world and that a skyscraper would be a beacon of Krishna consciousness for the world. So now ISKCON had its skyscraper in Manhattan. Its Ratha-yatra parade down Fifth Avenue and Prabhupada's personal presence. The Ratha-yatra procession, with its 350-foot tall carts, with its 350-foot tall carts, began at Grand Army Plaza on Fifth Avenue and proceeded downtown. Young men, girls in saris, Indians, New Yorkers, hundreds tagged at the ropes, pulling the gigantic chariots. With silken towers billowing yellow, green, red, and blue in the wind, slowly and majestically, the carts sailed south. The parade was complete with beautiful weather, hundreds of chanting and dancing devotees, and thousands of onlookers. And the route was some 50 blocks down Fifth Avenue, the most important street in the world, to Washington Square Park. At 34th Street, Prabhupada joined the procession. As he came forward to board the chariot of Subhadra, the devotees converged around him, amazing the policemen and other onlookers with their spontaneous adoration of Krishna's representative. Although the inner meaning of Ratha-yatra is the gopis' desire for Krishna to return to Vrindavan, these devotees were more absorbed in Srila Prabhupada's return to New York.
Thank
It
you,
was a God.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Aryan Prabhu.
It, it was Hare Krishna, Puji Dhananjay Pranam. It was a gorgeous, appropriate climax to Prabhupada's 10 years of preaching in New York City. When he had first come, he had no money, no place of his own to live, and no place for people to congregate and hear about Krishna. Now he was riding in splendor down Fifth Avenue at the Rath-yatra festival, and his Radha Govinda deities had a skyscraper. In 1965, he had been alone on the street, but now he was accompanied by 600 disciples, loudly singing the holy names and benefiting millions of conditioned souls. When the procession arrived, Washington Square Park was crowded with people. A temporary stage had been erected, and Srila Prabhupada and the deities took their places. Kirtananda Swami introduced Prabhupada before the crowd, and Prabhupada stood up to speak. In the evening, the parade was festival, received good coverage on all major TV stations, and the next morning, pictures and articles appeared in the newspapers. Prabhupada particularly liked the New York Daily News center spread, where several photos bore a large caption Fifth Avenue, where East meets West. Sending this cutting to many places, Prabhupada, just a second, Prabhuji, network issue. I'm not able to see the screen. Just a second. East meets West. East meets West. As I always say, the lame man meets the blind man. Together they do wonderful, and apart they cannot do anything. He is lame and he is blind. But if they join together, Indian culture and American money, they will save the whole world. Srila Prabhupada heard from the New York Times article, which stressed out how the parade included hundreds of Indians who were pleased to see they could keep faith even in New York City. The article quoted an Indian immigrant as saying, "We love New York City, America. It's the most beautiful place in the world. No other country will give such freedom for our own ceremony." That's a fact, Prabhupada said. That I always say. The first published about my activities when I was in Tompkins Square Park. At the festival site, Prasadam had been served to 7,000 people, and even when the devotees had walked back uptown with the cars late at night, hundreds of people had followed and chanted. The devotees were already talking about how to improve the festival for next year. They could have a press box, and Prabhupada suggested they rent a small building downtown and call it Gundicha. Lord Jagannatha could stay there for 1 week. Then the devotees should have another procession and festival with Lord Jagannatha returning to the temple on 55th Street. Last night, said Tamala Krishna Goswami, all night we were cleaning up the grounds at the park. So one woman who lives next to the park said, "In all my years of living here, I have never seen such a wonderful festival held." And on CBS television, the officials who's in charge of the park said, "We are very proud to be able to say that this park was founded hundreds of years ago when America was religious and that spiritual life is still present in Washington Square Park. So why not ask the mayor to construct a temple there?" said Prabhupada. The devotees all laughed, but Prabhupada thought such things were certainly possible. Srila Prabhupada's health was worsening, as often happened when he traveled extensively. Particularly in New York, his health began to suffer. His itinerary was to continue to on to London, Paris, Tehran, Bombay, and then to Hyderabad, where he could conduct where he would conduct the opening ceremony of a new iskcon temple. Senior devotees entreated him to rest a while before going to England and India. He had spent a very pleasant day at the iskcon farm in Pennsylvania, and the devotees suggested he go there for 2 or 3 months to rest, recover his health, and write. Every day that they would beg him to please stay. When he heard that GBC members in New York had unanimously recommended he not immediately travel, he said, "All right, I will not travel." But he could not be bound by the GBC, however, only by Krishna. He already had his plane tickets and he remained set on traveling. On the morning of Prabhupada's departures, a few devotees came to his room to make a last attempt, begging him to not to travel. He said nothing, though he was obviously set on leaving. His servants were packing his bags and everything was ready to go. Nevertheless, even as he left his rooms and get on the elevator, a few men followed, still suggesting him not to go. Prabhupada, please reconsider, Rameshwara Swami said. Prabhuji, please scroll. Srila Prabhupada had remained jolly so far, despite his physical weakness and despite his disciples' pleading, but now his face changed. Prabhuji, please scroll.
Someone else can start reading.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Pushpakana Mataji. Okay, just the end of the talk.
Ram Guruji. Don't travel, one devotee said, and another added, just stay, sit down and rest. Prabhupada turned and his eyes were very deep. More than ever, he seemed not of this material world. I want the benediction to go on fighting for Krishna up to last breath. He said, just like Arjuna. Everyone remained silent and the important instructions burned into their memories. The elevator opened on the main floor and hundreds of waiting devotees chanted and cheered as Srila Prabhupada walked to his car.
Okay, thank you. So this chapter has gotten over. Just a second.